You check your bank account again today, and the number finally shows over $10,000 for the first time. Instead of feeling proud or excited, a strange tension hits your chest, and your first thought is, what if this disappears? If that reaction feels familiar, you are not broken, ungrateful, or bad with money. And this video is for you. Before we go deeper, gently tap like if calm, honest money conversations help you feel more grounded and less stressed. Share this video with someone you care about who might be silently struggling with money anxiety, because understanding helps more than advice. And if you value realistic financial thinking without hype or shame, consider subscribing to see future videos like this. My name is Max, and I spend a lot of time studying how ordinary people emotionally experience money at different stages. I am not here to sell shortcuts or promise riches, but to explain what is actually happening inside your head. Today, we are talking about the strange psychological shift that happens after you reach $10,000. This number looks simple, but it quietly changes how your brain thinks about safety, loss, control, and the future. $10,000 is not wealth, but it is usually the first time money stops feeling temporary. Before this point, money flowed in and out, paid bills, covered rent, and disappeared without staying long enough to matter. Now the money just sits there, and your brain suddenly realizes there is something real to protect. That realization creates anxiety because having something to lose feels very different than having nothing at all. This is why many people feel more stressed at $10,000 than they did when they were broke. When you had very little, survival mode made decisions simple, even if life felt harder overall. But with $10,000, every choice suddenly feels heavier, slower, and emotionally risky. Your identity quietly shifts from someone who earns money to someone who holds money. Those two identities sound similar, but psychologically they create completely different fears, habits, and behaviors. If you do not understand this shift, it can quietly sabotage your financial progress for years. According to recent Federal Reserve data, most Americans have less than $6,000 saved at any given time. That means reaching $10,000 already puts you ahead of the majority, even if it does not feel that way. The problem is your brain does not compare you to the average person living quietly. Instead, your brain compares you to people who appear successful, confident, and financially secure on the surface. This comparison creates a gap between reality and perception, and that gap fuels anxiety and self-doubt. At $10,000, money stops being just a number and starts feeling like a responsibility. Responsibility feels heavy because now mistakes feel expensive, visible, and difficult to undo. This is the exact moment where many people freeze and stop making progress without realizing why. Behavioral economists describe this as the shift from thinking about money as flow to thinking about money as stock. Flow means money passes through your life, while stock means money stays and demands protection. Accumulation creates fear because accumulation means something can be lost. Research shows people with moderate savings often feel more anxious than those with almost nothing saved. They have enough to worry about losing, but not enough to feel truly safe or confident. This emotional middle zone is where most financial mistakes quietly begin. People either become overly conservative and paralyzed, or suddenly reckless and impulsive. Both reactions come from the same place: fear mixed with uncertainty. Fear does not always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like doing nothing at all. Leaving money untouched feels safe, but safety without growth slowly turns into loss over time. Inflation quietly reduces purchasing power every year, even when your account balance looks unchanged. Understanding this psychological shift is the first step toward using money intentionally instead of emotionally. Another reason $10,000 feels different is that money finally begins to generate money on its own. Even in a simple high-yield savings account, interest starts appearing without any extra effort from you. That small monthly interest may seem insignificant, but psychologically it changes how money feels forever. For the first time, your money is no longer just earned, it is slowly working for you. This shift creates pressure because now every decision affects not only today, but future potential growth. You begin wondering whether keeping money idle is wasting opportunities you do not fully understand yet. At the same time, investing feels scary because losses now feel personal and emotionally painful. This tension between fear and opportunity is strongest right after reaching $10,000. Many people underestimate how mentally demanding this stage actually is. You are no longer focused on survival, but you are not confident enough to think long-term yet. This uncertainty often leads to decision paralysis, where doing nothing feels safer than choosing wrong. Unfortunately, avoiding decisions is still a decision, even if it feels passive and harmless. Each month your money sits uninvested. Inflation quietly erodes its real purchasing power. Cash feels stable because numbers do not move, but stability can be deceptive over long periods. Over decades, inflation turns safe money into less useful money without obvious warning signs. This is why fear that feels protective can slowly become financially expensive. The risk most people fear is market volatility, but the hidden risk is never letting money grow. Understanding risk correctly requires separating emotional discomfort from actual long-term danger. $10,000 is often where this misunderstanding first appears clearly. How you respond here quietly shapes your financial path far more than your income level. One common mistake at $10,000 is suddenly feeling rich, even though true financial security remains far away. That feeling often leads people to reward themselves through spending instead of reinforcing healthy financial habits. A newer car, a nicer apartment, or frequent weekends out suddenly feel justified and harmless. These choices rarely feel reckless in the moment because payments seem manageable and gradual. What people rarely consider is the long-term cost of spending money that could have been invested. Every dollar spent today is also the future value of that dollar quietly disappearing. Over time, small lifestyle upgrades compound into significant opportunity costs you never clearly see. Research shows lifestyle inflation is one of the biggest reasons higher earners still feel financially stressed. Spending tends to rise naturally with income unless deliberate effort is made to resist it. $10,000 is often where this pattern begins forming unconsciously. Another subtle shift happens when you start comparing your progress to people around you. At lower balances, comparison feels pointless because survival consumes all attention. But once you reach $10,000, comparison quietly becomes unavoidable. You notice friends buying homes, upgrading cars, or posting vacations online. Your own progress suddenly feels small, even though it objectively represents success. This comparison creates unnecessary pressure and distorts how you evaluate your financial reality. Social media amplifies this effect by showing only outcomes, never debt, stress, or hidden trade-offs. Many people you compare yourself to are carrying heavy financial burdens you cannot see. Comparison shifts focus away from progress and toward perceived inadequacy. Left unchecked, this mindset can quietly undermine confidence and derail long-term financial discipline. The truth is, you almost never know the complete financial reality behind anyone else's visible lifestyle or apparent success. That friend who bought a house may be stretched thin with debt, stress, and very limited financial flexibility. The new car you admire could come with high monthly payments and years of negative equity attached. Even influencers talking about large savings often have income sources, privileges, or support systems you never see. According to recent national surveys, the median American household has just over $5,000 in savings. Median means half of all Americans have less than that amount available for emergencies or unexpected expenses. With $10,000 saved, you're already ahead of a significant portion of the population. Yet constant comparison tricks your brain into feeling behind instead of recognizing meaningful personal progress. This psychological distortion quietly creates shame, impatience, and the feeling that you are failing. Shame often pushes people toward impulsive financial decisions designed to feel successful in the short term. Impatience makes slow, steady progress feel boring, frustrating, and emotionally unrewarding. But boring behavior is exactly what allows financial stability and wealth to grow quietly over time. Most financially stable people do not feel dramatic success during the early stages of building wealth. They feel normal, sometimes discouraged, while consistently repeating simple habits that compound gradually. $10,000 is the stage where discipline becomes more important than motivation or excitement. Motivation fades quickly, but systems continue working quietly, even when emotions fluctuate. Understanding this reframes discomfort as evidence of growth rather than proof of failure. Feeling uneasy around money does not automatically mean you are doing something wrong. Often it means your mindset is adjusting to greater responsibility and long-term thinking. Accepting this discomfort allows you to continue forward without emotionally sabotaging your financial progress. After reaching $10,000, many people suddenly feel overwhelmed by financial choices they never seriously faced before. Questions appear all at once about investing, saving, paying debt, starting businesses, or keeping everything untouched for safety. This overload often creates decision paralysis, where fear of choosing wrong prevents any meaningful forward movement. Ironically, avoiding decisions still creates consequences, even when inaction feels careful, responsible, and emotionally safer. Every month, money remains in a low-interest account. Inflation quietly reduces its real long-term purchasing power. Avoiding decisions feels protective, But over time, it can become one of the most expensive financial mistakes. What most people need at this stage is not complexity, but a simple, clear, and calming financial framework. Clear structure reduces anxiety because it replaces emotional reactions with intentional and repeatable decision making. The objective here is not maximizing returns immediately, but building confidence, stability, and mental clarity first. This framework allows progress without constantly second guessing every small financial choice. Step 1 is keeping a true emergency fund inside a high-yield savings account. This money is reserved for real emergencies like job loss, medical bills, or urgent vehicle repairs. It is not meant for convenience spending, lifestyle upgrades, vacations, or impulse purchases. Having this buffer allows your brain to relax and stop treating every expense as a potential crisis. Step 2 involves addressing any high-interest debt that quietly drains progress and increases stress. Paying off high-interest debt is equivalent to earning a guaranteed return with zero market risk. Very few investments can reliably outperform eliminating 18% credit card interest. Removing this burden immediately improves cash flow, emotional relief, and long-term financial resilience. Only after these steps should investing become a focused and intentional priority. This sequence matters because healthy financial growth always begins with stability before expansion. Investing at this stage does not mean chasing excitement, trends, or fast money stories constantly promoted online. It means choosing boring, diversified investment options that quietly grow over long periods without demanding daily attention. Low-cost index funds are designed to capture overall market growth instead of depending on individual stock performance. This approach reduces emotional decision-making and removes the constant temptation to react to short-term market noise. At $10,000, the most valuable financial skill is consistency, not clever strategies or aggressive risk-taking. Small, regular contributions matter far more than perfectly timed decisions or accurately predicting future market movements. Compound interest rewards patience and discipline, not intensity, urgency, or constant activity during early investing years. Many people quit too early because progress feels slow, boring, and emotionally unrewarding at the beginning. What they fail to see is that early compounding builds momentum quietly before becoming visible later. $10,000 is often where compound growth begins working for you instead of against you. Maintaining discipline at this level creates disproportionately large long-term financial benefits over time. Once strong habits form here, future savings milestones become easier to reach and easier to maintain. Going from $10,000 to $20,000 often happens faster than going from 0 to 10. This acceleration surprises many people who underestimate the power of systems and repeated behavior. At this point, money slowly begins reinforcing good habits instead of constantly testing your discipline. The focus gradually shifts away from survival toward intentional, long-term financial planning. This transition feels uncomfortable because it requires delaying gratification longer than you are used to. Many people mistake discomfort for danger and retreat instead of remaining consistent and patient. Discomfort at this stage is not a warning sign, but a signal that growth is happening. Learning to tolerate this feeling is essential for moving beyond the $10,000 plateau. Once you stabilize this stage, subtle changes begin appearing in your daily life that extend far beyond money itself. You stop checking your bank account obsessively because you trust your system and know resources are available. Small, unexpected expenses no longer trigger panic because you understand they will not derail everything. This calm creates mental space to think more clearly, patiently, and strategically about future decisions. When financial pressure eases, you begin making choices based on long-term benefits instead of immediate survival. Career decisions start shifting as well because desperation no longer controls your options or confidence. You negotiate salaries more firmly, knowing you can walk away if an opportunity does not serve you. Toxic work environments become easier to leave when you have financial breathing room supporting your choices. This money quietly gives you leverage, even if the number itself does not look impressive. Leverage means having the ability to say no without fear of immediate financial consequences. Relationships also begin changing as you notice who supports your long-term goals and who undermines them. You become more aware of spending pressure from social circles that prioritize short-term enjoyment. Saying no becomes easier because you understand what that money represents for your future. This is the transition from scarcity thinking toward a calmer, more deliberate abundance mindset. Abundance does not mean excess spending, but confidence that your needs are covered and growing. This mindset shift rarely feels dramatic, but its impact quietly compounds over time. Many people never reach this stage because they release discipline too early and lose momentum. Those who maintain consistency begin noticing progress accelerating without additional stress or effort. The psychological shift after $10,000 is about control, not comfort or luxury. Control over choices is what ultimately creates freedom, security, and long-term financial stability. Here is the uncomfortable truth most people never hear about reaching $10,000 and staying there. Many people will never move beyond this stage, not because of income, but because of behavior. They treat $10,000 as a finish line instead of the foundation it was meant to be. Once they feel relief, discipline slowly fades and old spending habits quietly return. An emergency happens, then another, then a justified reward, and the balance steadily declines again. People often tell themselves they will rebuild later, but momentum is difficult to recreate. According to recent Federal Reserve data, median savings for adults under 35 remains surprisingly low. This shows how rare it is to not only reach $10,000 but maintain it consistently. The challenge is not reaching this number but protecting the habits that created it. Wealth building requires treating this balance as a permanent baseline, not a temporary achievement. Those who succeed decide early that $10,000 is the minimum they will ever accept. This mental rule changes daily decisions in subtle but powerful ways. Spending is evaluated differently when it threatens a baseline rather than extra money. This mindset prevents emotional backsliding during moments of stress or celebration. The hardest dollars to save are the first ones, especially the first 10,000. After proving you can do it once, repeating the process becomes faster and less painful. Progress accelerates not because life becomes easier, but because your systems become stronger. This is where long-term momentum quietly begins replacing constant financial struggle. $10,000 marks the shift from surviving money problems to solving them intentionally. What you do at this stage determines whether wealth remains theoretical or becomes real. Right now, whether you are near $10,000 or just reached it, you're standing at a quiet crossroads. One path treats this moment as an achievement, leading to relaxation, spending, and eventually stalled financial progress. The other path treats this moment as a foundation, leading to discipline, consistency, and long-term growth. And both paths start at the exact same number, but they produce dramatically different outcomes over time. 5 years from now, one version of you feels stuck, while the other feels increasingly confident and free. 10 years from now, the gap between those choices becomes impossible to ignore. The habits you build at $10,000 quietly decide whether you ever reach $100,000. Building wealth is not exciting, glamorous, or fast, but it is powerful, stable, and deeply freeing. Your future self is hoping you protect this moment and make choices aligned with long-term clarity. If this video helped you understand your mindset, like subscribe and share it with someone who needs it,